Chapter 1875. Marshall, have you ever been defeated? After hearing what Zhang Yi said, Brian rubbed his big nose. Brother, I don't know about this matter, because it is a secret of the Colombian government. You know, if they really found that colonizing Mars was useful, they would definitely secretly build a spacecraft without telling anyone, and then transfer themselves first. Zhang Yi nodded and thought it made sense. But with your status and position, you don't know about this? Brian spread his hands helplessly. The professor is crazy. He is so passionate about this catastrophe. He wants to stay here to study the evolution of organisms and try to find the secrets of the universe. I have no choice but to stay here to accompany him. But I believe that with his ability, it wouldn't be difficult for him to go to space if he really wanted to. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. I don't know whether Brian deliberately concealed it or it was really as it said. But one thing is certain, the matter of Mars immigration is a secret of the Colombian government, and accurate intelligence cannot be easily obtained. I have to find out more. Well, it seems that I can only study this matter slowly. But according to our agreement, I will give you the corresponding compensation. You also know that I didn't succeed in getting the treasure of the god-level civilization in the end, so just tell me what you need. Food, energy, weapons, everything is available. Brian stared at the camera, which was strangely silent for several seconds. Zhang Yi even suspected that the network was stuck. But not long after, it said, I haven't thought about it yet. You wait for now, and I'll tell you when I think of what I need. Zhang Yi shrugged. Whatever you want. At their level, they really don't have much interest in general supplies. The Natural Science Laboratory had priority use of all the supplies in Fremons, and Brian, as a dog, was not interested in those things. Then let's stop here for today, and see you later. Zhang Yi was about to end the call, but Brian raised his paw to stop him. Wait, Chaos. Is this the end? Zhang Yi. Brian looked at him and said, Why do you seem to be indifferent to the strange things that happened in Fremons? This is very strange. He stared at Zhang Yi with suspicion. For example, the dark giant who fought against the 4 horsemen. You didn't mention it at all. And now, the whole world is going crazy because of him. Zhang Yi lowered his eyes. Brian. His voice sounded tired. I'm so tired. The world is becoming more and more absurd, and more things are beyond our understanding. Humans and dogs are just like bacteria on a leaf caught in a huge wave. Any wave will destroy them. I've been through so much during this period of time that I was so shocked that I'm numb.
He sighed.
Live well. Zhang Yi ended the call with Brian and touched his nose. He didn't expect that this dog was so smart and almost discovered that something was wrong with him. On Brian's side, he looked at the screen that turned black and then looked in the other direction of the laboratory. Professor Da Vinci, who had messy silver hair, held 2 test tubes in his hands. He looked left and right with sharp eyes, and only after confirming that the measurement was correct did he merge them together. Tongue. A puff of white smoke rose from the beaker, and then the 2 originally transparent solutions underwent strange changes after merging. Countless thick bubbles began to emerge and overflowed from the beaker. Faint sounds that sounded like crying but not crying, laughing but not laughing could be heard coming from the beaker, somewhat similar to the sounds of a baby. Da Vinci, did you hear what he just said? Da Vinci glanced at him with his small eyes, his voice cold and a little impatient. While doing the experiment, he said, I heard it, but it's just some stupid words to deal with people. He is a very cunning guy. It's impossible to dig out useful information from him. Brian walked behind him and watched him take out some of the liquid in the beaker and put it on the petri dish. The squirming white viscous liquid was twisting strangely, as if some kind of life was about to be born from it. Brian's brows suddenly knitted together, and he felt a little nauseous. It feels like you're creating maggots. It's really disgusting. Da Vinci immediately shouted in dissatisfaction. Hey, you stinky dog who doesn't understand science. Don't use your dirty mouth to comment on my scientific research. He held the beaker carefully, as if he was afraid that Brian would knock it over. This thing took so much hard work. He stared at the white viscous liquid that was wriggling strangely in the beaker, his voice low but with some excitement. I feel like I'm slowly beginning to touch the realm of God. If this world is really as you think, then this is the way to go. Brian, although I hate your self-righteousness and sometimes even want to retrain you, I have to say that the information you brought back from behind the mysterious light gate is very helpful to me. Brian put his hands behind his head and said nonchalantly, "Really, I don't understand what you've been doing." But then again, in this world, there are so many countries with powerful aliens. Why are you so interested in chaos? Brian asked the question in his heart. Upon hearing this, Da Vinci narrowed his eyes. You want to know why, right? He carefully placed the beaker into a safe, then turned around, folded his arms, and stared at Brian. The evolution of life is nothing special. It's just that the cataclysm has accelerated this process. So, there will always be a part of life forms that become stronger and stronger and adapt to this world. The so-called cult-level aliens, oh God, they are nothing compared to the truly powerful ancient creatures. His voice became deeper, and his eyes became more serious. That guy called Chaos, there's something very scary about him. Brian was a little intimidated by Da Vinci. He swallowed and asked, "What?" "The dark power he used," said Leonardo. "The kind of power he called the void." Brian spread his hands and said, "Didn't you say that? All supernatural powers are just different ways of manifesting energy. There is nothing different." "No," Da Vinci said in a deep voice. "The power in him is unique. Because that thing does not come from himself at all. It is something completely opposite to this world." Brian is now 13 years old and is an old dog who is dying. It was given new life after Leonardo da Vinci's transformation. Having followed Leonardo da Vinci for so long, it has memorized a lot of scientific knowledge. So when it heard this, its pupils shrank a little bit, and it blurted out a term. Antimatter? Antimatter is a physical matter concept proposed recently. The theory holds that the material world is immersed in a sea of negative energy charges. When electrons are excited from negative energy levels, the vacancy left behind will be filled by a particle with the same mass and opposite charge as the electrons, that is, electrons. Physics has observed that all electricity in the material world is negatively charged, so electricity is an antimatter particle. The scientific community subsequently confirmed the existence of electrons and subsequently discovered antimatter and antimatter. In other words, any particle can have an antiparticle, and matter composed of antiparticles is antimatter. Simply put, it's like the reverse side of a mirror image. Brian's reaction was so great because when antimatter collides with matter, a huge burst of energy will cause annihilation. That energy is so powerful that no energy produced by any substance in the world can compare to it. Da Vinci said in a deep voice, "That guy hasn't discovered the full extent of his power yet. He doesn't even know the principle of that power. He just uses it like gunpowder." If someone were to discover the true use of this power, it's hard to imagine how terrifying he would become. At this point, Da Vinci suddenly showed his big white teeth and smiled with an exaggerated expression. Perhaps destroying the entire world is not impossible. Brian shrank his shoulders in fear. "Don't sound so scared, okay?" Da Vinci glanced at it coldly and said, "You don't understand science at all. Forget it, just study your own things. As long as the results of your research are produced, it will definitely change the world. By then, even if we face those ancient civilized races, we may not lose to them." Zhang Yi contacted a circle and several major districts also sent messages. Zhang Yi just perfunctorily responded to them. However, as expected, he saw the letter from King Arthur. "Chaos, the Battle of Fremons has come to an end. I hope you don't forget that we humans still have a promised battle." Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. His strength had greatly improved now, and he had enough confidence in defeating King Arthur. But right now, he has a lot of things to do and has no time to fight him. What's more, if we really want to fight, we must be adequately prepared. Zhang Yi said, "The matter of Fremons is not over yet. We don't know when Yichigel will appear. We must first secure our rear. King Arthur raised his mouth when he heard this. Chaos, I always have full respect for the strong. As for you. The smile on his lips became even more intense, and although he said nothing, he slowly shook his head. What happened at the last trial level made him very dissatisfied with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and pretended not to know what was going on. King Arthur said, "Let's set a time. I will announce the news to the whole world at that time. If you avoid fighting, I will think highly of you." Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. "Foreigner, do you really think you are afraid of you?" "Okay. You don't really think Zhang Yi is afraid of you, do you?" King Arthur couldn't ask for more. "How much longer will it take you to prepare?" Zhang Yi thought for a moment and gave his own time. 1 month later. Also, I'll decide the exact time and place. King Arthur said, "Not within the borders of Huaxiu. It must be in a third-party area. This time it will be fair." He is now more cautious toward Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi also said, "Of course. However, the news of our duel can be made public, but the location of the duel must be kept secret." He didn't want his information to be leaked. King Arthur said, "Of course." Zhang Yi said, "Let me think about it and let you know when I have chosen a location." "Okay, I hope you can come as promised." Zhang Yi sneered. "Of course." After ending the call, Zhang Yi lay on the sofa and thought for a while. After being baptized by the spiritual ocean and absorbing the essence of Ichigo, his strength was greatly improved to 35,000 points. In addition, he awakened a new power, making his combat power unprecedentedly powerful. According to common sense, it is easy to defeat King Arthur. However, as he has always been cautious, he still has to be fully prepared before fighting. After all, he had never seen King Arthur go into battle in full force on the battlefield of Fremons. After all, he is a ruthless person who is capable of defeating an underground civilization alone in the Knights of the Round Table, so we must not underestimate the enemy. After much deliberation, he decided to set the battlefield on the sea. King Arthur was a swordsman, and sword was his preferred way of fighting. In the sea, he had to rely on a flying device to get into the air, so swinging the sword would certainly not be as smooth as on the ground. However, Zhang Yi's fighting style is not picky about terrain. So after Zhang Yi opened the world map, he finally chose a desolate and remote small island in the Pacific Ocean outside the South China Sea as the battlefield. Having made up his mind, he decided to discuss it with Yang Xinxin again. I came to Yang Xinxin's study, knocked on the door, and after entering, I found that the room was full of various materials projected by dimension. "Xinxin, what are you looking for?" Zhang Yi asked curiously. Yang Xinxin replied, "Our biggest threat right now is the god Drucker, who has the power to destroy the world. The underground civilizations were once the rulers of the planet. They possessed extremely high spirituality and maintained wisdom and rationality. However, Drucker's gods have a desire to destroy and devour. These guys are the most dangerous. Even if we are not careful, human civilization will be destroyed by them." She pulled down the front of her shirt, revealing a magic eye mark similar to Zhang Yi's. "And we will definitely be the first ones to be found." Zhang Yi felt a bit of a headache. The heart that was originally pleased with the improvement in strength now felt a little heavy. He sat cross-legged in front of Yang Xinxin. "Did you gain anything?" "The harvest is huge." There was a glimmer of hope in Yang Xinxin's eyes. "I consulted ancient books from all over the world, combined with the narration of the Ichin Knights, and got very important information. God Drucker is indeed powerful, but he is not invincible." Zhang Yi rubbed his chin. A glimmer of hope ignited in his heart, but he was also a little confused. That's a race that even the creator Kagago couldn't completely destroy. Is there anyone else who can deal with them? Yang Xinxin blinked at Zhang Yi. "Brother, have you forgotten? Creations cannot destroy them, but it is not impossible to defeat them. Even if the Ihan tribe had not lost their faith and were unwilling to fight, the Gyrok tribe could not be killed, and there was no need to hide from them. The previous few people had fought a long war with Drucker. This shows that they had fought against this existence before and were not slaughtered one-sidedly. She pointed to the ancient books in front of her. You see, it was recorded in the Holy Scriptures that Lucifer, one of the demon kings of hell, was once a servant of the Creator, and eventually led 1/10 of the angels to fall and rebel. But in the end, he was defeated by the angel army led by the Archangel Michael and eventually fell into hell. Perhaps archangels like Michael and Raphael are the ancient powerful men of the Ihan clan. According to my judgment, Lingna's 4 knights have the strength to compete with Drucker. But they couldn't completely kill Drucker and seal him. And every once in a while, Drucker would gnaw away the seal and reappear in the world to continue killing and devouring. From then on, a long war broke out, involving countless intelligent creatures and multiple races. She flipped through the projected ancient books. For example, in Norse mythology, there are Titan gods who were sealed, broke the seal, and destroyed the entire Norse god clan. In the ancient myths and legends of Hwashi State, there was a prehistoric beast that roamed the world in the prehistoric times, bringing disaster and catastrophe. Ancient humans, or perhaps angels protecting humans, defeated and sealed them. This is where Zhuanxiu's Jedi Tiantong comes in. I now suspect that the Druk god we saw that day was the ancient legendary beast, Zhulong. According to the Classic of Mountains and Seas, Great Wilderness North Classic, outside the Northwest Sea and north of the Chishui River, there is Jiangwei Mountain. There is a god, with a human face and a snake body, and it is red, with straight eyes and a straight posture. When he closes his eyes, it is dark, and when he sees, it is clear. He does not eat, sleep, or rest, and wind and rain are his signs of trouble. It's Zhu Jiuyin, it's Zhulong. Note, quoted from Classic of Mountains and Seas. The one-eyed dark god Drucker fits this description perfectly. Zhang Yi understood what Yang Xinxin meant. You mean, although we can't kill this terrible monster, but if we seal it, it will be enough to prevent the end of the world, right? Yang Xinxin nodded. It seems to be the case at the moment. Drucker is the most direct cause of the Doomsday. Zhang Yi's eyes rolled back as he recalled what he saw that day. Thinking about it now, it still makes this white sec-level alien feel thrilling. In front of God Drucker and the other 4 knights including Ling, he was as weak as an ant. Its power, its eternity, is beyond imagination. Seal it? Have you ever seen ants burying an elephant? Zhang Yi couldn't help but shudder. This is a very difficult thing to do. Then does the ancient book describe how to seal them? Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xinxin with hope. Yang Xinxin shook her head. No. But even if there are, they must be defeated and sealed with martial arts first. Otherwise, why did they fight against the Druk tribe continuously in ancient times? Zhang Yi.
What's the point of talking about that?
Forget it. I'd better think about how to escape. Zhang Yi didn't think about the troubles that were so far away for the time being. Now he could just take it one step at a time. In the following period, Tianhai City ushered in a peaceful and harmonious period of development. The reconstruction of Tianhai Fortress went very smoothly with Lu Karen's support. She, who has become Ypsilon level, has used her skills to create a large amount of materials, including barriers and new metals, to form a thick barrier. Bailey Chongqing led people to act as laborers and carry out detailed work. Deng Shintong brought a lot of mechanical equipment and experimental materials from his hometown to build a Deng Technology Laboratory in Tianhai Fortress. This really means that he is completely leaning toward Zhang Yi's camp. However, if you want to join Zhang Yi's core circle, it will probably take a long time to win Zhang Yi's trust. At the construction site, Fatty Su stretched out his hands forward, and suddenly all the ice and snow rushed up into the sky. The thick ground on the ground cracked with a boom, and large pieces of ice were lifted up to build a snow house. After absorbing the spirit of the sacrifice, his strength was significantly improved. Although we have not yet entered the realm of Ypsilon, it is far better than before. The workers around him saw this, and their eyes lit up with admiration, and they clapped and cheered. As expected of Marshal Tianping, this is too strong. Oh my god, I wish I could have this kind of strength someday. Hey, a god is a god. I don't have a Beta-class submarine, and at best I can only work as a laborer in the base to carry some equipment. I'm afraid I will never be able to catch up with Marshal Tianping's level in this lifetime. The people around him were flattering him, which made Fatty Sue's mouth corners slightly raise. He leaned against a newly built ice fortress with his arms folded, his legs crossed, and his long hair covering half of his face. Oh, what a fuss. Are you frightened by such a small thing? The people around him fell silent, feeling ashamed for making a fuss, and at the same time looked at Fatty Sue with even more admiration. Fatty Sue said calmly, "After the end of the world, I followed the Supreme, fought in many battles, big and small. Beyond the death line, I killed 7 people in and out 7 times. Until today, there is not a single scar left on my body. What are the neon eclipse aliens? Who is the Columbia Navy? Not to mention the lizard men of the Wulwan Empire. Ha, they are all defeated by me. Pa pa pa." There were gasps and loud applause all around. A little fan looked at Fatty Sue, his eyes full of admiration. But he still couldn't help asking, "Grand Marshal, have you ever been defeated?" Fatty Sue tilted his head and looked at him with an indifferent and cold look. The little fanboy shrank his neck. Fatty Sue said in a reminiscent tone, "I was defeated once in this life.